So, we have had the opportunity to briefly understand the importance of Silappadigaram, Tirukkural, Nalayira Divya Prabandham, Tirumurai and Rāmāyana. Now, let us go to the beautiful land of Karnataka. Some of you may be wondering, sir, we are used to telling Karnatak. Why are you calling Karnataka? See, when we deal with the state in the north, do we say Haryan or Haryana? We call it Haryana, right? Similarly, that Akaram should be added to Karnataka as well. It is not Kerala, it is Kerala. It is not Andhra, it is Andhra. It is not Karnatak, it is Karnataka, like how it is Haryana. Now, in Karnataka, the language which has been spoken for millennium, over a millennium together, is Kannada, the language. Often Kannadigas would state, Kasturi Kannada. It is so relishing, this language. In this language, there are umpteen number of poets and dramatists. But let us take only a few examples now because of the want of time that we have. Now, the first saint poet, philosopher, social reformer, a great human being and a towering personality even today is the 12th century personality called as Basavana. Basavana was called Basavana from his childhood from the Sanskritam word Vrishabha. Vrishabha or Rishabha has to deal with Nandikeshwara, who is the Vahana, the chariot to Lord Shiva. So Rishabha, the Bha at the end became Va. So he is Basavana. So Basava is called with respect as Basava Anna, with lot of respect. He is a Hindu Shaivite and he is said to have lived in the reigns of two dynasties, Kalyani Chalukya dynasty and Kalachuri dynasty. So this Basavana is said to have lived under the influence and under the rule of a king called as King Bijjala II in Karnataka. So he was born in 1131 CE AD and he belonged to the Bagewadi of northwestern Karnataka, and he was born to a couple called Madarasa and Madalambike. They were orthodox Kannada Brahmins, and he was devoted, the parents were devoted, a lot devoted to Vishnu. Basavana was devoted, a lot devoted to Lord Shiva. So he grew up in a place called as Sangameshwara or Kudala Sangama, where two rivers, Krishna river and Malaprabha river meet. And he is said to have adhered to the Lakulisha Pashupata tradition. Now, Basavana married a lady called as Gangambike, a relative from his mother's side. And at the same time, his grandfather was associated with the royal dynasty, and his wife's father was also associated with the royal dynasty. He is said to have got a job of an accountant, thereby because of that influence he worked as an accountant under that king. And it is said that after the demise of his father-in-law, he became the chief minister to the king. And his sister called Nagamma was married to the king as well. And later Basavana, he is said to have become a great monk, a great sannyasi. And he started using the funds of the administration to cater to the needs of Jangamas, the nomadic Shaivite saints. And his only motto was, more than the rituals, enjoy the work that you do. Do your work sincerely. Kayakave Kailasha. So he believed that work was always worship. So his activities were concentrated around the Kudala Sangama temple. So he has given a lot of vachanas, a lot of couplets for us, for the goodwill and the important performance of a civilized society. So I will take you across a few vachanas. Ivanaranava, Ivanarava, Ivanarava, Ivanaravanendu Yenisiderayya, Ivanammava, Ivanammava, Ivanammavanendu Yenisayya, Kudala Sangama Deva, Nimma Maneya, Maganendu Yenisayya. So, the moment we see a third person, what do we think? Who is he? Is he a stranger? Is he a robber? Is he a culprit? This is how we think. But Basavana says, don't think like that. Even Arava, don't ask who is he, who will he be. Think, he is mine. He is also my friend. So the moment we see a third person, we should not have any doubts in our mind. Rather, we should accept him with open hands. Why? Because the entire world, the entire universe comprising of the Chetanas is the Lord's body. So how can you dislike one person and like the other person? Can I say I like my right hand better and left hand less? No. You have to like everybody. So Kudala Sangama Deva, O Lord of Kudala Sangama, He Shiva, Nimma Manaya Maganendu Yennisaya. You treat all these children in the society as your very own children, says Basavana in this particular Vachana. Let us go to another Vachana. Neerige Naidiyalli Shringara, Samudrakke Teraye Shringara, Narige Gunave Shringara, Gaganakke Chandrama Shringara. Namma Kudala Sangama Sharanara Nosalige Vibhutiye Shringara. So he says, Neerige Naidiyalli Shringara. Water pond, Pushkarini that we see. Naidiyalli Shringara, there is a beautiful lily which is that which adds charm to that particular pond. Samudrakke Teraye Shringara, for the vast expanse of the ocean, what adds charm? The waves. Narige Gunave Shringara, for a woman, what could be adding charm? It is her beautiful qualities. Gunave Shringara. Gaganake Chandrama Shringara, for the sky that you see, vast expanse of the sky that you see in the night, what is the Shringara element? It is the full moon that gives Shringara to the sky. So for the water pond, it is the lily. For the ocean, it is its waves. For the lady, it is her qualities. For the sky, it is the full moon. Namma Kudala Sangama Sharanara Nosalige Vibhutiye Shringara. To those devotees who come and prostrate to Lord Shiva as Kudala Sangama Deva and Sangameshwara, it is the Vibhuti, the holy ashes that they apply on their forehead, which is the Shringara element. Basavana says. There is another Vachana. Vachanadalli Namamrita Tumbi, Nayanadalli Nimma Muruti Tumbi, Manadalli Nimma Nenahu Tumbi, Kiviyalli Nimma Kiruti Tumbi, Kudala Sangama Deva Nimma Charana Kamaladolaganu Tumbi. So he says, Vachanadalli Namamrita Tumbi. So in the Vachana, Namamrita, there is the honey of reciting the names of the Lord. Nayanadalli Nimma Murutu Timbi. What should fill my eyes? The beautiful form that you have got. Manadalli Nimma Nenahu Tumbi. In my manas, in my mind, Nenahu, your remembrance should always be there. Kiviyalli Nimma Kiruti Tumbi. When others are praising you, I should take all the elements of Shravanam and keep it in my ears. Kudala Sangama Deva Nimma Charana Kamala Dolaganu Tumbi. I am like the bee that hovers around a flower. I am similarly like a bee that wants to come to your lotus-like feet, O Lord Shiva. So these are some of the vachanas. There are plenty of vachanas filled with meanings, filled with so much of philosophical content that even today there are so many bhaktas who will go spiritually mad listening at these vachanas. They are so very full of meanings. Now, there is said to have been another great poet in the Kannada language. He belonged to the village called Torave, and his name was Narahari. So the Rāmāyana that he gives is called Toraveya Rāmāyana. Approximately around the 15th century is when he is said to have lived. He was born as a Brahmana, and he religiously followed the footpath of Kumara Vyasa, so much so that the Rāmāyana that he gave is, makes it one of the best Rāmāyanas in the Kannada language, and he was called as Kumara Valmiki therefore. And he based his Rāmāyana on Adhyatma Rāmāyanam in Sanskritam. So his Rāmāyana is also celebrated by the Kannada language loving people. Now we have celebrated and briefly understood Basavana and Torave, the one who belonged to Torave, Narahari's Rāmāyana greatness. Now let us go to the land of the god, which is the country of the gods, called Kerala. Kerala Pradesham in our Puranam is said to have been formed as a reclaimed land because Parashurama wanted to live after having committed the heinous crime of killing so many Kshatriyas. So it is generally called Parashurama Kshetram. And in this Parashurama Kshetram of Kerala, let us now deal with one great poet called as Poondanam. Poondanam was born in the year 1547, and he was born in the Malappuram district, and he was born into a Nambudri Brahmin family. Nambudris are a large sect of Brahmanas in the Kerala tradition. He was married, and for a very, very long time he did not have a child. But after propitiating the Lord Krishna of Guruvayur, known as Guruvayurappan, he is said to have been blessed with a boy child. And the first Abdhapurti, the first year birthday of the child, was a grand event, and he had invited various guests. There are various theories floating as to how that 1-year-old child died that very day. It is said that the child fell into a big patram filled with boiling rice. Some say he fell into a pond. In whichever way, the child died on that very birthday. And this was a big shock, source of big grief for Poondanam. Poondanam did not know what to do. That is when some of the elders who had assembled there, after performing the rites for the dead child, they advised Poondanam to see his child in the beautiful form of Lord Sri Krishna of Guruvayur. So Poondanam religiously did this. He went to the temple and he saw for a moment that his child was within the beautiful form of Guruvayurappan, and treated Krishna, who is Guruvayurappan in Guruvayur, as his very son from that day onwards. And to bring forth some kind of seasoning and a good civilized way of thinking amongst the audience in Kerala, he came up with a beautiful work, a very, very rich work called as Jnanapana. In Jnanapana, he describes how uncertain the life is. You are able to now see on the screen the house where Poondanam lived. Poondanam gave us this Jnanapana, and from that I have taken up 3 very commonly recited, heard, understood and appreciated verses in the Malayalam language. It goes like this. Kandu kanden irikun janangale, kandelinnu varuttunna tumbhavan, rendu nalu dinangondu ruttane, tandileti nadattunna tumbhavan, Maliga mugal area mannate, tolil marappu kettunna tumbhavan, Krishna Krishna Mukunda Janardhana, Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare. So he says, "Oh, you men," he addresses we the commoners and says, a king who enjoys all the pleasures by standing in the balcony, the next day could either become a pauper, or there may be so much of burden. When we think that our country is suddenly is running very well, suddenly we will have armies from our neighboring countries attacking our borders. So today, if we assume that our situation is very good, we do not know what is going to happen tomorrow. So uncertain the life is. Regarding the uncertainty, Poondanam brings it here. Then he says, Yenni yenni kurayunni dayusum mandi mandi karerunna mohavum itta morunnu chindichirikkave chattu pogunnu pavam shiva shiva. So yenni yenni kurayunni dayusum. As we keep thinking about what is to be done today, tomorrow, we are unaware of the fact that we are approaching our demise, our death in this particular janma very soon. So if so many years have been ordained for us in this janma, we do not know. As every moment, every minute, every day passes, we are nearing that date of death, right? So our ayus, the lifespan also gets reduced. Yenni yenni kurayinni dayusum. Imagine we are doing some other work, but this date approaches. But there are certain people who will be worried about the date of death, and every day they will develop this shock in them that I am approaching my death. Yenni yenni kurayinni dayusum mandi mandi karerunna mohamum itta morunnu chindichirikkave chattu pogunnu pavam shiva shiva. But how much ever you think, don't think, you run, you don't run, one day the death will approach you. So instead of the death approaching you, you can approach death by understanding the philosophy of life. The next verse he says, Kudi alla pirakkunna nerathum, Kudi alla marikkunna nerathum, Madhye ingane kanunna nerathum, Matsarikkunna dendindu navrita. So he says, let us now assume the case of a couple, the man and the woman. They come from two different families, two different backgrounds, they have come together. Fate, vidhi, karma has ordained them to be a couple. But it doesn't mean that you will have to spiritually progress as a couple. See, if the wife is interested in spirituality, Vaishnavism, understanding more, she can progress. Some of them will be worried, my husband is not interested in religion, he is not interested in philosophy, what should I do? That is when Pundanam says, Kudi alla pirakkunna nerathum. You both were not born on the same day, in the same place, at the same moment. So you were born to different sets of people, different geography, different timeline, you were born. You have just come together because of fate. Live as a couple. At the same time, you cannot expect death together as well. When your birth is not together, when your death is not together, then in that case, why should you have animosity between each other when you are living between the processes of birth and death? So he says, Inno ittamorunnu chindichirikkave chattu pogunnu pavam shiva shiva madhye ingane kanunna nerathu matsarikkunna dendindu navrita. Why do you want to celebrate vengeance, vendetta, animosity, grudge, greed when you are not born and dead together? So when you are at least born and dead, you are going to die together, there could be some reason, but none of it happens like that. Most couples, we are all born in different dates, different months, different years. Why should we fight? He brings forth the essence of life in such simple form for the common Malayali people. Of course, it is not only meant for Malayalam knowing people, even us who may not know that language, we need to understand that language so that we can appreciate that literature as well. We have understood one of the greatest poets of Malayalam language called Pundanam. Now let us go to another great poet called as Thunchaththu Ezhuthachan. He is said to have belonged to the 16th century and is often celebrated as the father of the modern Malayalam language that we know, because he is the one who is said to have systemized the concept of 51 letters in the Malayalam alphabet. So he is known as one of the greatest poets of the Malayalam language. He, like how Kamban gave the Kamba Rāmāyanam in Tamil, like Thorave Rāmāyana in Kannada, he gave us the Rāmāyana work, the Itihasa Rāmāyana in the Malayalam language. It is called as Adhyatma Rāmāyanam. Besides Adhyatma Rāmāyanam, he has given us a work called as Harinama Kirtanam. In this Harinama Kirtanam only, he establishes the concept of the letters in the Malayalam language. It is very, very common amongst the devotees of Kerala to know Harinama Kirtanam. With my very, very meager Malayalam knowledge, I will try to read out a few verses from this particular literature. Omgaramaya porul munnai pirinyudane Angaramaya tinnu tandanne sakshid bodham varutuvittan idennu ஆலாய நின்ன பரமாச்சாரிய ரூப ஹரி நாராயணாய நமஹ. ஓம்காரமாய பொருள் முன்னாய் பிரின்னுடனே. So this essence of Vedas which is pranavam or omkaram has akara, ukara, makaram in it. Now munnai pirinnudane. Now this omkaram, that particular pranavam, that paramatma which is in the Shabda Brahmam, instigates Prakriti to turn into Mahat, into Ahankaram, and that Ahankaram comes in contact with the three gunas, Sattva, Rajo, Tamo gunam. So it becomes Satvika Ahankaram, Rajas Ahankaram and Tamas Ahankaram. He says, Ongara Mayam Purul Munnai Pirinyudane Angara Dinnu Tandanne Sakshid Bodham Varuttuvadidanne Alaya Ninna. So he says that particular Ahankaram that gets split into three because of Satvika, Rajasa and Tamas Ahankaras may cause ignorance in me. But at that point in time, when I read the Pramanam, the scriptures back, then with the help of an Acharya, I will be able to take away this particular ignorance, that Ajnanam, so that I can get Purna Brahma Jnanam. I can understand Brahman in its entirety. Then he continues, Ananda Chinmaya Hare Gopika Ramana Jnanenna Bhavamidu Thonailga Venamiha Thonnunna Dahil Akhilam Jnanidenna Vadi Thonnename Varada Narayanaya Namaha. So he says that Lord who is omniscient, omnipresent, Sarvajna, now became Gopika Ramana. He became the beloved of the Gopikas and the Gopastris in Gokulam. So, Jnanenna Bhavamidu Thonnaiga Venamiha. So he says, at one point in time, I, the Jivatma residing in this Pancha Bhautika Shariram, thinks that he is the supreme. That is when, O Lord, give me the knowledge with the Gopas and the Gopikas had during Dwapara Yugam, where they were all subservient to you. They showed prema bhakti to you. So give me that knowledge so that I feel that you are within me and I don't feel that I am that Lord. That Lord is within me gives me humility. I am that Lord is sheer ignorance and arrogance. Then he continues, Garbhastanai Bhuvi Janichum Marichunda. So he says, like how we were born and we are going to die, and this entire process is like a bubble. See, when you have soap bubbles, you will find small bubbles and they will last only for a few seconds. That time is how much is allotted for our birth. For us, we may think it is 100 years, 70 years, but in the overall Srishti Kramam, it is just like a few seconds of a bubble. So our life and death itself is like a bubble. Garbhastanai Bhuvi Janichum, he says in this particular Punam or Thunchaththu Ezhuthachan, they were great poets in the Malayalam language.